We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, that is right, my friends. You have tuned in to America's home for conservative, not bitter talk. It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you, my friends, for joining us here on this busy broadcast Monday. Lots of stuff in the stack of stuff to get to. Governor Shapiro's mansion, his governor's residence in Pennsylvania, was set on fire over the weekend. We also have a story here about a Wisconsin teen who has allegedly killed his parents in order to fund an assassination plot for President Trump. Got other things in the stack of stuff as well. That's where we want to start talking about this absolutely insane political climate that we find ourselves in. Today, we're going to help you navigate this and hopefully steer some people away from the blind rage and hatred towards a much more reasonable tone, even in spite of our even vast political differences. So that being said, my friends, that's where we're going to go today. Before we get started, I want to remind you that if you love seafood, real, authentic, fresh seafood, you have to check out Kenai Fish. Kenai Fish is a family-owned company that delivers wild-caught Alaskan seafood straight to your door. It doesn't matter where you are in this country. Doesn't matter if you're from the landlocked states, if you're on the coast, wherever you might be, Kenai Fish can get you Alaskan seafood that is fresh and it gets to you quickly, my friends. Their salmon, which they have sockeye, coho, and king salmon, is harvested from the pristine Kenai and Castleoff rivers. It is vacuum sealed. It is shipped next day air to lock in that fresh, just caught flavor. But they've also got halibut from the Gulf of Alaska. Again, not to be confused with the Gulf of America. It's mild, sweet, and perfect for any recipe, and they've got shellfish, king crab, snow crab, scallops. It's the best Alaska has to offer. Kenai Fish is about quality, it's about sustainability, and it's your opportunity to support hardworking American fishermen. So go to KenaiFish.com, Kenai fish.com. Use promo code Todd. You'll save 15% on your order. That's Kenai, that's Kenai, KenaiFish.com. Promo code Todd. You'll taste the difference, my friends. You will be hooked. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. All right. So let's start today by looking here at what happened in the governor's mansion in the state of Pennsylvania. A man accused, this is CNN.com, of setting fire to the Pennsylvania governor's residence has been arrested. Here's what we know. Pennsylvania authorities have arrested a Harrisburg man, they say, broke into Governor Josh Shapiro's residence early Sunday and started a fire while Shapiro and his family were sleeping. So pause everything. This in and of itself should capture the attention of every American. Listen, Josh Shapiro is a Democrat. That should not matter for the sake of this discussion, because what matters is that we have an elected governor in this case, an elected official whose house has been set ablaze, His residence had been set ablaze, broken into and set ablaze by some man allegedly from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Harrisburg, by the way, is the capital of Pennsylvania. That might be, of course, you know this, but if I've got someone in here from, the left, they might not realize that the capital of Pennsylvania is Harrisburg. That's where the governor resides. His house residence was set on fire. Going back to the article here, Shapiro, his wife Lori, their 4 children, 2 dogs, and another family were forced to evacuate the state-owned Harrisburg residence, which was significantly damaged by the fire. No injuries were reported, thankfully, by the way. Cody Balmer, that will be the only time I say this idiot's name, allegedly, 38 years old, turned himself in to police and was being held on charges of attempted murder, aggravated arson, terrorism, and other charges in connection with the fire, which occurred hours after Shapiro and his family hosted a Passover dinner, authorities said. By the way, Governor Shapiro and his family, they are Jewish. They were celebrating the Passover meal, which is something that's relevant this week because this is the Holy Week, which we'll talk about throughout the week, I suppose. But anyway, this individual who turned himself in said he was angry with the governor and would have beaten him with a hammer, he says, if confronted, according to an affidavit filed by state police early Monday. Shapiro, 51, was elected Pennsylvania governor in 2022 after spending 6 years as state attorney general. A prominent Democrat, he was one of several candidates considered for former Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate during her presidential bid in 2024 and has been floated as a potential presidential candidate for the 2028 race. Elected officials have faced a surge in violent threats in recent years, including a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and 2 assassination attempts against President Donald Trump last year. All right, so let's just pause this for a moment. You will remember even last week. Last week, I referenced a survey, which I'm going to pull back up here. I've got this pulled up. What do I have? This is, it's taking a second to load here. This is a survey that finds, this was CBS Austin. This is all over the place now. New survey reveals disturbing trend in support of political violence. So if you read this article or you read the actual survey itself, you will find that 38% of the total respondents to this survey said it would be somewhat justified. Get ready for this. I know we talked about this previously, but this is a perfect thing to cite again, given what we just talked about with Governor Shapiro. 38% of total respondents said it would be somewhat justified to murder President Trump. 38% of Americans in this survey said it would be somewhat justified to murder Trump. 31% said it would be somewhat justifiable to murder Elon Musk. However, those self-identifying as more left-leaning said 48%. More people, now there's more leftists who want to kill murder Elon, than Trump, but 48% left-leaning folks said it was just at least somewhat justified to assassinate President Trump. 55% to murder Elon Musk. So this is the world that we find ourselves living in. This is not hard. I don't know, and I don't care who this alleged lunatic voted for. Listen, I know there's going to be a whole plethora of theories, conspiracy theories, false flag. Listen, I understand any of these things are possible in today's world. Let's just take it for what we know it to be right now. An attempted murder, arson, to kill the whole family and another family. Another family was in celebrating Passover with Josh Shapiro. They were in a home that was set on fire. If you're in a home that's set on fire, you can certainly die from the fire. So These people's lives were in jeopardy. Thankfully, no one was injured, but this could have been a whole lot worse. Can we just once and for all, can you not be in that 38% that I just referenced a moment ago? I know you're not, but can we have more people grow and not find themselves in that 38%? Can we universally condemn this stuff? Can we universally condemn whatever happened at Josh Shapiro's governor's residence in Pennsylvania? Can we universally say that that's wrong, regardless of who he voted for? This isn't hard, my friend. This is not hard in the slightest. This is something that every freedom-loving American should be able to do. And if you can't, and again, I'm speaking general you can, I know. But if someone can't, they are not fit to be an individual who is living in what we have in this country. They are not fit to manage and maintain this constitutional republic. This is completely unacceptable. This is completely evil. This has no place in a society that's not run by barbarians. This has no place in American society. I don't care who anyone voted for. I don't care what political party they align with. I don't care any of that stuff. We should be able to universally condemn this stuff. And until we are able to do this, until we're able to talk to the lunatics out there, the 38% that say it's somewhat justifiable to murder Trump, are you kidding me? Until we can get through to that cast of characters and lunatics and people who have set their hearts and minds on absolute abject evil, we have legitimate problems in this nation, my friends. This is not hard to do. I don't care who this person voted for. I don't care his race. I don't care his gender. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care any of that stuff. Now, if we find out that any of those things, like for example, I was going to say I don't care where he went to school. I might care where he went to school if he went to school in a place where they were talking favorably about this sort of stuff, talking as though this was an admirable thing to do. I would have problems with that. That would be relevant. But until there is a causation, a cause-effect sort of relationship that can be demonstrated, those things are just details around the periphery that may not mean a diddly darn thing. In fact, in many cases, won't. But can we not fully and universally condemn this? It doesn't matter to me anything else about this person whatsoever. So, this is a developing story. I'm not going to spend much time. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to do any of that other stuff. I'm just putting this out there for what it is, because this sort of thing, there's 50 governors. Well, 57 if you count all the states Obama had been to, but 50 governors of states in this country, and one of them had his residence set on fire. It's just a lot to take in, my friends, a lot to take in here, and it should absolutely unequivocally not happen in this country. The individual who did it, assuming it's just one, it's what it appears to be, but who knows, he should face the full scope of legal consequences here. This, again, goes without saying. I didn't tweet. I just compare and contrast these self-righteous leftists who say things like, when Trump was nearly assassinated, the bullet struck his ear. What did they say? They said they wish the killer had better practice, had a better aim at the president. The people who said those things should not be taken seriously. The people who said those things are the major root of the problem in this country today. This should be easy to universally condemn. It's pathetic and sad that it happened. And I don't know what's so hard for people to say this. I understand in the sense that people always, we've gotten to the point in this country today where if you say anything nice about the other side or anything even in defense of a person on the other side, sound bites will be taken out of context or whatever. There's a concern that you're going to give the other side political momentum and all that. Listen, I understand that. And I understand that we're in the fight for the survival of this republic. And I understand that the Democrat Party today, as run by the left, has some really, really terrible ideas, and they have to be stopped politically. I fully understand that. I don't know if that's what this guy was thinking. I have no idea what this guy was thinking. Maybe this guy wasn't thinking. Maybe who knows? But it's unacceptable. This is not the way to do this. And I don't understand why everyone can't simply agree on this. I mean, I do, because there's other things that we're going to get to as we dig here a little bit today. But can we all just agree with that? I'm glad Governor Shapiro and his family are safe. And I'm glad this could have ended a lot worse than what it did. It's terrible that it happened. It should be universally condemned. This should not be hard. So I wanted to mention that. Now, I also want to mention another story in the headlines, which is similar in the sense that it's involving violence. This one, however, this particular case actually involved murder. A teen in Wisconsin murdered his parents. And on top of that, there was a specific plan that he had. After murdering his parents, he wanted to do things with, I don't know, he thought he was getting an inheritance. I don't know. With money from this, he wanted to carry out another step in his maniacal plan here. And I want to get to that. And I want to compare and contrast that. I want to talk about what it is that is going on in this country where this sort of thing is now becoming fairly, I don't want to say common, because obviously it's still uncommon, but it's more common than it should be. How about that? So we'll get into that here in due course, my friends. Taking a little bit of a breather here for just a moment. Friends, if you're tired of spending your hard-earned money on businesses that turn around and support causes that you oppose on a regular basis, then you should check out Freedom Marketplace. That's precisely why we started Freedom Marketplace. It's a free, searchable directory of businesses that share your conservative values, businesses that have vowed to not support. They have vowed to not give their support to leftist candidates or leftist causes. And so you can go to this site, freedommarketplace.net, find conservative businesses that are pushing in the same direction that you are. This, by the way, is something that we own and operate here at the Todd Huff Show, and we're building it out and growing it. But you can do this. No, it's free. It's easy to do. And it's good, patriotic businesses that are pushing in the same direction you are. Check it out today, freedommarketplace.net. That's freedommarketplace.net. Liberty, my friends, and business for all. Okay, let's get into this other story now. As I look at the clock here, we've got a few minutes left. I can at least set this up. This is at Breitbart.com. Headline here at Breitbart. I mentioned a little bit about the story earlier. I want to give you more details. I want to read from this. I want to frame what's going on. Breitbart.com. FBI, Wisconsin teen murdered parents in extremist plot to fund assassination of President Trump. Now, it's a lot to take in just from that headline. So we've got a teenager who allegedly murdered his parents and whose plan after murdering his parents would give him, he thought, the financial means to assassinate President Trump. And a large portion of America's population apparently thinks that this is acceptable. This is nuts to me. It's not nuts to me. It's absolutely, positively insane, evil, wicked, and nuts to think that this is something that a large percentage of Americans can at least see some understanding with this decision-making and these actions that are taking place here. So let's look at the article. A 17-year-old Wisconsin teen allegedly killed his parents in pursuit of, quote, the financial means and autonomy, end quote, to assassinate President Trump, the FBI revealed. Court documents show the 17-year-old was part of a, quote, satanic cult. I mean, that gives us a lot of information right there, which has, quote, strong anti-Judaism, anti-Christian, and anti-Western ideologies, WISN reported on Friday. Investigators also found a manifesto which, quote, described a call to assassinate President Trump, make and detonate bombs, and carry out other terrorist attacks, end quote. CNN noted that the charges against the 17-year-old include 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of hiding a corpse. He also faces federal charges tied to the planned assassination. In one entry in the manifesto, the 17-year-old addressed his plans for Trump, writing, quote, as to why specifically Trump, I think it's pretty obvious, the teen wrote. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, apparently he wanted to assassinate J.D. Vance as well, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos. Okay. The 17-year-old allegedly killed his mother and stepfather inside their home in February. The 2 victims were shot to death. So that's the story. Of course, there's more to it. It's a story that we're still getting information on. But let's pause. Let's pause and think about this for just a moment and understand what we just read. So you have a teenager, 17-year-old. We've got a soon-to-be 16-year-old. This is unfathomable to my brain. 17-year-old murders his mother and his stepfather. He then thinks that he's going to somehow, because of that murder, I guess have some sort of a financial windfall so that he will have the financial means and the autonomy necessary to carry out the assassination of President Donald J. Trump. This is all according to the FBI. On top of that, we found out, not surprisingly, that this kid was part of a, quote, satanic cult that has strong anti-Judaism, anti-Christian, and anti-Western ideologies, according to reports from WISN. So that's what happened. Now, here's why I want to bring this up today, because I do want to ask the left. You heard me. You heard me in the earlier part of this segment. Leftists out there, liberals, Democrats, you heard me condemn in no uncertain terms the attempted murder of Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, and his family. In no uncertain terms, I fully condemn the actions that were taken against Josh Shapiro and his family over the weekend. Unacceptable, evil, reprehensible, should never be allowed to happen in this country. And if it does, which it apparently has, then the individual responsible for it should face the full consequences of his actions as allowed by law. That's what should happen. That looks like what's going to happen, and it very well should happen. Now, leftist, I'm going to leave room here for you to do the same with this 17-year-old who allegedly killed his parents so that he could pursue the financial means necessary to murder and assassinate the President of the United States. Quick time out, though, my friends. You're listening to Conservative Not Bitter Talk. I am your host, the one and only Todd Huff, back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. So can the left condemn without any hesitation, reservation, without any qualification? Can they condemn the actions allegedly taken by this 17-year-old in Wisconsin? That's my question. That's what I want. I don't just want the condemnation of this. I want the end of this sort of thinking. And listen, we can't obviously prevent every single solitary person from coming up with these crazy ideas, coming up with this evil intent. Certainly not. We're not capable of that. In spite of what the lovers of big government want, you cannot and should not try to control the thinking, beliefs of every person, although we certainly should be in the business of promoting truth. We certainly should not be having our education system put this kind of crap in the minds of the people out there roaming America's countryside. And that's what I want to talk about here. That's what I want to talk about. You've heard me say on this program many times before, especially if you're a regular listener, and why wouldn't you be? But you should, and common sense determines this, right? You know this just from having a thoughtful brain, you know that there are bad apples in every group, every single group, whatever that group is. I am a white guy. There are good white guys, there are bad white guys. I am a conservative. There are good conservatives, there are bad conservatives. There are conservatives who oftentimes are good, but who sometimes do bad things. I mean, this is complicated, right? There are, I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus. Unfortunately, of all the things that is most troubling to me is when I see a fellow believer, one who has been redeemed by Jesus, who says he wants to follow the teachings of Christ, and then for that person to do something clearly wicked and reprehensible, there are Christians who've done bad things. Some Christians don't want to admit that, but see, that doesn't undermine the veracity, the truth of the idea, right? What that does is says that people do bad things. And as we're in Holy Week, this is a good time to remind us, according to the biblical standards of good, there is no one good, not even one. All of us have fallen away by sin and turned from our Creator. And so, in that sense, we're all far from good. But you know what I mean in a common vernacular sort of sense, that when there is evil within a group of people, meaning an individual within a group, that doesn't necessarily tear down the ideas or the beliefs of the group. That doesn't necessarily need to be applied to anyone else in the group. However, there are instances where that absolutely is the case. Take Al-Qaeda, for example. Al-Qaeda is hell-bent on, perpetuating evil on people who are not prepared for the caliphate, Islamic rule around the world. People who want to say, live in a constitutional republic like ours. People who believe in democracy or liberty, or take your pick, something that's of Western civilization, Western thought, Judean Christian principles, and so forth. People who are who want to be part of the caliphate, the Islamic caliphate, are not understanding to those things, don't believe in those things. But their ideas, if you go to the most radical groups, the Al-Qaedas of the world. By the way, side note, did you see Hamas is upset that it's determined to be a terrorist organization? I say quit whining and change your ways, Hamas, but that's another discussion for another day. But when you're part of Al-Qaeda, see, the idea is now there's a cohesiveness to the group. So suddenly, instead of saying within any group of people, any race, gender, ethnicity, religion, any way you want to quantify them, there are people that are perpetrating bad things, doing some really reprehensible and evil things within any group of people. But that's true just universally across the board because of the nature of humanity. Where this begins to change is when you begin to say now people are aligning themselves and aggregating their beliefs together and coming together, and who are for the express purposes of inflicting evil. That's the purpose upon which they formed a group. That's where I get Al-Qaeda, for example. That's where we get these people who are working in cahoots to set fire to Tesla dealerships or to attack Tesla drivers, to which a portion of Americans think that that's okay and acceptable as well. Not enough to go after Trump, not enough to go after Elon Musk. You got to go after the individual drivers of Tesla products, which is a company owned by Elon Musk. So this is the sort of behavior that we have, but there's a difference when you begin to align with people based upon ideas, and those ideas are directly calling for evil, when those ideas are teaching people to pursue evil, to embrace evil, that the evil that they feel compelled to commit, or sometimes inspired to commit by the group, are actually justifiable actions. Now we're beginning to move in the direction of where this becomes really dangerous, because now we're looking at organized, strategic decisions, aligning with groups of people, with other individuals, I should say, forming a group of people that are completely committed to a cause and who are working together. Maybe they can't provide material support, but they can at least provide information. They can provide encouragement, as crazy as that might sound. That's the sort of thing that some of these groups are doing. And you begin to wonder, how many people are there like this 17-year-old Wisconsin teen who murdered his parents, and then in response, well, his, I guess, second step of his plan, the second phase of his plan was to take, I guess, a financial windfall that he thought he was going to get. I guess he thought he was going to pin this murder on someone else. He was going to be the beneficiary of lots of money. He was then going to use the money to go and assassinate Trump. I mean, crazy stuff, right? But this is applauded in some leftist circles. Let me say that again. I am not talking all Democrats, although I will tell you from the statistics, it's many more than it should be. This is not all liberals. In fact, I've got, in the next hour, I would like to get into Bill Maher sharing his experience after meeting and speaking with President Trump, having dinner, I believe, together. He shared some things about Trump. I've got to get the bleep button ready to edit that so that you can hear it across the radio airwaves and no one get in trouble here. But, he's not in this group. There are people who believe things that are different from me that are not in this group, who are promoting and condoning and encouraging these acts of violence, up to and including the murder of people. Those who are applauding it, those who are saying it is in fact a good thing. And when there are such a high percentage of people who are saying it, this is a good thing, you have to ask yourself, are they not now encouraging, recruiting, enabling, at least condoning the actions of those who actually take it to the next step, take it from the hatred and the rage that's being spewed across, stages and podiums and online sources across America, taking it from that and now putting feet and hands into the equation, actually carrying out the intentions, the desire of the groups, evil intentions. And so that's where we are today. And so when I talk, for example, when you talk about the elimination of, say, the Department of Education, look, I'm not going to pin all this stuff on the Department of Education. That's not what I'm trying to do. But to say that the Department of Education is not run by radical lunatic leftists, and to say that those policies do not make their way into public schools, sometimes in a very hidden way, sometimes through the intentions of local school teachers and individual districts and so forth, to say that this is never the sort of thing that's parroted in a classroom is beyond naive. There are people, you've heard the recordings of people that are saying things that are at least encouraging violence against Republicans, against Trump supporters, against Trump. You don't have to look very far to look at the reactions on social media to Trump being nearly assassinated. People saying, wish he would have had more practice, should have aimed better. Anytime someone in Trump's family dies, I've gone through this before as well, there's a series of hashtags that trend on social media that say, wrong Trump. We wanted another Trump to die. A Trump died, but it wasn't Donald Trump. This is evil and reprehensible stuff. And you can only skirt truth for so long. You can only begin to absorb and to crave and to pursue lies straight from the pits of hell. This guy was part of a satanic cult, according to reports. You can only chase those desires and beliefs so long before they begin to manifest themselves, my friends. These ideas eventually take root and become actions that are taken. It appears to be what happened here in this case. It also appears to be the end of the break. This segment. I've got to take a break, my friends. You're listening here to the home of conservative, not bitter talk. I'm your host, the one and only Todd Huff, back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Third and final segment of this, the first hour of our program. This is a 2-hour program, by the way, my friends. We'll talk in the next hour a little bit about Bill Maher, what he had to say about meeting with President Trump. I'll get to that on the other side of the hour. But I thought it was timely as I was preparing my thoughts for today's program. I thought, you know what? This is a perfect time. This is the Holy Week. For those of you who are Christian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who are not, what that basically means is this is the week. Sunday is Easter, or Resurrection Sunday, more adequately or appropriately named. Yesterday was Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday was the day when Jesus was welcomed into the city of Jerusalem, only to be crucified in 5 short days by the Roman authorities at the behest, I suppose, of the Jewish leaders in the city. He was, in fact, crucified for claiming to be God. That's what they put on the cross. This is the King of the Jews. So I point this out to say, I bring this up. A, it's timely. B, it's important to me. C, this is, when I read this story about this individual here, who was allegedly a part of a satanic cult, allegedly killed his parents, and thought he was going to take the financial means from the death of his parents, to then fund, I guess, the assassination of President Donald J. Trump. This is pure evil, by the way, pure evil. It doesn't matter. Insert other names. If you can't see past the fact that murdering Trump was wicked and evil, then put somebody else's name there, because that, my friends, this should be something we should all find agreement on. But here's the truth. Here's the truth. In order for us to have less of this sort of thing, in order for us to move past this movement towards, I guess, the acceptance of political violence in this country today, this is more than political. This will not be fixed politically. You've heard me say on this program before that America is in a spiritual battle. America is in a cultural war. Politics is downstream of these things. In other words, what people believe and how they think, what they worship. All worship means, my friends, is to consider something ultimately worthy. We all worship something. We all find something to be the most important thing, and we hold it above everything else. To the Christian, we should hold Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father. We should hold the Holy Spirit, the triune God, as the most important, as the ultimate, what we worship. But for those who don't, they put something else. And even for some Christians, people put other things in that position of top priority. And I'm going to say this, when the top priority is filled by things like satanic cults and the pursuit of assassinations of presidents of the United States or other political figures, or burning down the governor's mansion, setting on a fire in Pennsylvania, those sorts of things, my friends, we've gone past. This is not a political, there's not a political solution to this. You can't legislate this stuff out of existence. What America needs more than anything right now, if you dare me here for the final 2 minutes to get on a little bit of a preacher's soapbox, what America needs more than anything right now is spiritual revival. What America needs more than anything right now is a return to the gospel of Jesus Christ, a return to the cross. And what's fitting is, I don't make the timelines here. I'm just expressing what seems to be an obvious, timely discussion to have, with this being, again, the Holy Week, when Jesus gave his life for the sins of all people. All people. He paid the penalty. He took the wrath of God so that for those who accept his free gift of salvation, they don't have to. I don't have to. And that's what this 17-year-old boy needs, allegedly here. Well, we all need it. I'm just saying allegedly the one who murdered his family, was trying to murder Trump. Until this nation has a change from the inside out, until this nation has a heart change. And again, no amount of money, no amount of education, no amount of social programs, no amount of economic prosperity. Some of those things are very, very good to pursue and to have. Wonderful things. But those things are not enough. A transformation of the human heart is necessary. We are at a spiritual crossroads that then creates a cultural crossroads. Spiritually as individuals, culturally as groups, where we're having these beliefs. These beliefs radically shape the way that we behave, radically shape the things that we believe, and the things that we say are acceptable and commendable. Some people saying that the actions taken by this man allegedly would be commendable because of his pursuit in stopping Trump. But my friends, what's truly commendable, what we all need to be looking for, is a change spiritually starting from the inside out. And this is a great week to look into that, because this is the week that Jesus came, rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, was betrayed, gave himself up, was crucified, and was resurrected on Sunday. I got to go, though. SDG.